If you've been watching the latest season of Flash, there's one villain, one terrible person, one speedster that's been messing with Barry Allen's life. He is Savatar. The big question for most of the season has been, who is Savatar? Who is the man from the future? If you've been following the season, then you're aware of the reveal, but this is your spoiler warning. I will not reveal the story to the show, but we will be discussing who he is, his explained origin, and who he is derived from in the comics. Now in the show, Savatar is Future Flash. In the show's logic, the speedsters can create a time remnant. A time remnant is basically another version that the speedster created while traveling through time. Here's an example. Barry from Timeline A goes back in time and alters the future. This creates Timeline B, but now due to the Speed Force, we have Barry Allen from Timeline A and we have Barry Allen from Timeline B. Only one of them gets to be the real Barry, so the extra is known as a time remnant. The show goes much deeper into its own version of comic book logic to make this work, but that's the bare bones reasoning behind it. Now in the future, Barry Allen meets Savatar, and in order to defeat him, he creates multiple time remnants. Savatar kills all except for one of these duplications, and once they defeat Savatar by sealing him away, all that's left is Barry Allen and his duplicate. In his own words, the duplicate was then shunned and pushed aside as the extra Barry, not the real Barry. And eventually, he was driven insane and he went into the Speed Force where he traveled back in time, starting the myth that he was in fact the god of speed. This started a chain of events which would lead to him becoming Savatar and the whole thing looping all over again. That is who Savatar is in the show, but who is he derived from? Well, within the comics, there are two versions of him. So let's discuss the Future Flash, Blue Flash. The story of the Blue Flash actually begins 20 years in the future. Barry blames himself for the death of Wally West and other individuals, and he's decided to travel back in time to prevent everything from happening. He races to a time to stop Gorilla Grodd by placing a small bomb in his head and preventing his plan. He then races back with the belief that if he prevents Wally's death, he can prevent this future. But he decides to prevent each event as it happens just in case he fails, so he can at least save someone. So he goes to Mirror Master and Trickster explaining what their schemes will lead to, and then he goes to Captain Cold's bedside at his death to apologize. And lastly, he arrives during the present day, when the Flash is battling with Daniel West, the Reverse Flash. He explains the events that the Reverse Flash has set into motion will lead to something going wrong. And then he kills the Reverse Flash. Seeing himself murdering a villain, Barry Allen decides to battle himself. He loses and the Future Flash grabs Barry Allen and runs him to the Salt Flats, where there is a tear in the Speed Force that happened much earlier in the comic book series. Future Flash explains that this tear has been taking time away from him in the milliseconds, but when you're the Flash and you're trying to time things perfectly, that's enough to cause you to be late, and for that, there are deaths. Flash and Future Flash battle it out because Future Flash intends to use the Speed Force energy of the Flash to seal the rip in the Speed Force. He is fully aware that this will most likely lead to his own death as he alters the timeline, but his hope is that he can save Wally West and everyone with it. Wally West gains his powers joining in the fight, and in the battle, Future Flash throws Flash into the rip of the Speed Force, accidentally killing Wally. But instead of dying, Future Flash took on the appearance of being 20 years younger and was given a chance to fix the future himself. Eventually, the Flash found a way out of the Speed Force and prevented all of the events from happening by defeating Future Flash. But at no time was the Future Flash referred to as Savatar. No, Savatar is someone completely different in the comics. He appeared in 1995. He was a Cold War pilot for a third world nation, and he was known for testing a supersonic fighter jet. At top speeds, he was hit by lightning and he went down in enemy territory. He discovered that he had the powers of a speedster, and he went on to form a cult around this. And wanting more power, he sought out Johnny Quick to learn what he could from him. Max Mercury became involved in this battle, and both Max and Savatar were thrown into the timeline. Max emerged before Savatar, and he began to train the speedsters to prepare for Savatar's return. And when Savatar finally returned, he discovered that his cult had grown massively, and then he used his cult to battle the current Flash family. The battle ended with Savatar eventually being merged with the Speed Force and removed. We only saw his return from it when Barry Allen came running out of the Speed Force, but due to the negative effects Barry was suffering, Savatar was killed. That, I hope, answers the questions of who is Savatar in the show and in the comic books. If you have any more questions that we can answer for you, let me know down below. And if you subscribe to this channel, I'm sure you'll be able to keep up to date on your favorite comic books and TV shows. Don't forget, you can also chat with me on Twitter and Instagram. I'll see you next time, right here.